Can I predict PTJ's next manhwa before it even releases? This sounds like a stretch, but I'm pretty sure I've just written PTJ's next work, and I think you'll find what I have to say pretty interesting, so I want you to hear me out. With the end of Questism finally arriving, there's this little detail that everyone got crazily hyped on, which is Gangbuk finally meeting Lookism's ally. And to be honest, I'm just making this video because the hill I'm choosing to die on is Questism isn't over. Call me delusional, but just hear me out. PTJ's universe, the PTJ-verse, the Lookism universe has slowly been expanding, but the crossovers have been minimal at best. I mean, sure, we get a little cameo, maybe a background character from one of the series pops up in another, or maybe a name drop here and there, but that's not enough. Other Manhwa shared universes like the Blue String universe have gone all in with full-scale crossovers, merging not just two, but multiple series into one major storyline. Meanwhile, we Lookism fans still get hyped up seeing half-second cameos. It's time for PTJ to step up and give us a true crossover event, one that brings together two of the most compelling series under his belt, Lookism and Questism. The potential here is massive, not just for fan service but for actual meaningful storytelling. A lot of people see Questism as Lookism's little brother, entertaining but not on the same level in terms of depth or popularity. And yeah, Lookism is undoubtedly the top dog of the PTJ-verse, but Questism has some of the most unique mechanics we've seen in PTJ's storytelling arsenal. The quest system itself is one of the coolest ideas PTJ has introduced, but it still hasn't been fully explored. Soohyun constantly getting cryptic messages that push him to grow stronger, but we don't know where the system comes from, how it works in a larger sense, or whether it connects to the wider PTJ-verse. Introducing it into Lookism could answer these questions while opening up a new layer of power dynamics. Just imagine, Daniel and Soohyun fighting together, both of them considered prodigies in their own right, but with completely different approaches to strength. Vinjin and Jae-hot, the two hot-headed fighters, who could either become best friends or beat the hell out of each other the moment they meet. Gukja learning more about Ultra Instinct. We know it's some next level ability, but we still don't fully understand how it works. What if the quest system finally gives us answers, and finally, the system finally explaining itself? For months, we've gotten vague quests with no real explanation of why they exist or who's behind them. This crossover could reveal the true origin of the system and its connection to the PTJ-verse. More importantly, Lookism has reached a point on where gang fights are becoming repetitive. I'm sorry. We've already fought through every major gang in South Korea, and at this point, what's left? A crossover with Questism is the perfect way to shake things up and introduce fresh conflict. Although one of the biggest challenges I can see this crossover facing would be keeping the power scaling consistent. Lookism already struggles with this. Characters who are hyped as unbeatable like Ji-chang suddenly get nerfed when the plot demands it. Now imagine throwing in little leveling systems on top of that. The issue is balance. If Soohyun and his gang suddenly surpass Lookism's strongest characters, it'll feel forced. These guys have trained for years, so a newbie leveling up overnight would be frustrating to us. And if Questism characters remain weaker, they won't be taken seriously. There has to be a middle ground where they can bring something unique to the table without completely breaking the power existing hierarchy. This means PTJ has to be really careful about how he handles this crossover. The best way to do it? Here's a few things I could suggest. Rather than just making Questism characters power up instantly, PTJ could introduce strategic and adaptive growth that keeps things balanced. Here's how I think that would work out. The system could give unique abilities instead of just strength upgrades. Maybe the quests allow characters to analyze opponents' weaknesses, counter their attacks, or develop abilities that help them fight smarter rather than just hitting harder. Soohyun and his crew start weaker but become dangerous through quests. Instead of brute force, they get strategic advantages, kind of like an RPG character who starts off weak but can eventually challenge stronger enemies by learning their patterns. Think Elden Ring. But the system could interact with Ultra Instinct. Right now, UI is still a mystery. What if the system could reveal its true nature, giving us insights we've never had before? Maybe UI is an ability that can be refined or even countered with the right quests. Now, I know this sounds kind of ultra specific to people who have the UI, especially Gukja, but you have any better ideas? I think these approaches would allow Questism characters to stand toe-to-toe with Lookism characters without ruining the established power hierarchy. Now, I want to talk about something a little different, which is, what would the community's reaction be? Let's be real, the Lookism community would absolutely lose their shit over this crossover. Even people who don't read Questism would check it out, just to see how it ties into Lookism. Questism fans would get to see their favorite characters interact with the top tiers of Lookism, and the hype around the crossover would reignite interest in both series, drawing in both new and returning fans alike. Crossovers aren't just a gimmick, they're a proven strategy. Right now in Manhwa, other universes have done it successfully, and I think it's time for PTJ to do the same. Fans want to see their characters interact, form rivalries, and fight alongside each other. Not to mention, we'd be given more lore. Beyond just fights, this crossover could finally answer some of the biggest questions in the PTJ-verse, like, of course, how does Ultra Instinct actually work? I mean, we've seen glimpses of it, but we still don't fully understand it. The system could provide a proper explanation, potentially even revealing different types of UIs or ways to counter it. And I don't mean understand it like, you know, that shit gun pulled on Daniel. Who would be the strongest character in Lookism? Especially that Soohyun can see stats, giving us a clear in-universe tier list of who ranks where in terms of power. This would settle years of fans' debate once and for all. And what is the true purpose of the system? Right now it seems like a simple power-up mechanic, but what if it's part of a larger force in the PTJ universe? Is there something or someone behind it? Could it be linked to any other experiments in the Lookism, like the second bodies? Honestly, it's a lot of questions that it could be answered if this crossover happened. This crossover wouldn't just be about action, it could expand into the lore of the PTJ-verse. So yeah, mark my words, a Lookism and Questism crossover is happening, and it makes too much sense not to. If I'm wrong, fine, I'll eat my own damn shoe, but if I'm right, y'all better start calling me the Nostradamus of Webtoon. Until then, let's keep this conversation going. Who do you want to see fight, and what theories do you have? Drop your takes in the comments and let's get this theory going. Like, subscribe, all that YouTuber jazz, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.